Stop the cap.
It is tough to be a black man when a man's pride is taking care of his family, providing food for the table, providing a great environment, a nice place to live, and suddenly someone says, you can't do that anymore. That's heartbreaking. It's very tough for a black man to become successful in a country that didn't give him the proper tools of education to deal with once he left that school place. It is very tough. Where we're headed, only God knows where we're headed. I don't have a crystal ball, Jay. I can tell you this. I hope that black men all over America realizes that the game outside is tough. It is very, very cold. It is very hard, but that game is not impossible. To win, you must get committed. It's tough to say that to a person that don't know how to weld or to build or to do carpentry. Just the average person who dropped out of school and now discovers at 28, 29, I messed up. It's never too late to learn.
Oh, drug dealers and thug niggas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they sexy.
Yeah. Rejected all of us, we ain't having enough thug in us. But stand on poetry stages complaining how this is what love get her. And I don't get it. Out here creating her own issues, yet never own up to any of her own issues. She blame us, you know, cause men ain't shit. As if it's not just the men you picking. You knew the difference, could have had you a man and still chose that nigga. Woo! You knew women different. Boo-hooing, sniffling, crying, he broke my heart. Well, bitch, he kills niggas. And I'm trying to be real with you. He the reason mothers cry, yet you mad he fuck bitches. Let's be real with you. He is married to the streets, knee deep in beef. You can only be his side bitch. Y'all looking at me like, damn, that was harsh as shit, Kim, when I'm just being honest. And honestly, you should be lucky you wasn't in his car when his ops was out there sliding. 4 niggas, black mask in a black Honda. All I can think about is your mama. What would she say when her baby got shot? Woo! I know she gonna cry and pray a lot. Your boyfriend back on the block, on social media, talking to his ops, doing TikToks.
All right. And it's going to be a lot of videos getting released if I stay on top of trying to get these vids out. So I had a discussion with a woman who, you know, we're cool. You know, she has her feminist, you know, streak. You know, she gets kind of triggered about certain things. We were talking about politics in the election cycle, and we were just having a conversation about that, about black men not supporting Kamala Harris, why, you know, the way that the Democrats talk to black men in particular, you know, which she agreed with. You know, we got a good laugh out of it because I brought up that point. I was like, isn't it funny how all of a sudden the Democrat Party knows what a woman is when it comes to calling black men, you know, sexist for not wanting to vote for Kamala Harris, right? Just making up a reason. All of a sudden they know what a woman is when it comes to the idea of black men discriminating against a woman or not choosing to vote for a quote unquote woman, right? Or as the far left would call a birthing person, or whatever stupid shit they want to come up with. So all of a sudden, they know exactly what a biological woman is. Any other time, you know, it's LGBTQ, you know, trans women are women and all this other dumb shit. And she don't fuck with that. Like, she's just like, nah, this is bullshit. She's like, that I agree with you there, you know, and I had to point out to her, I'm like, we didn't bring any, the black men have been long accused of being homophobic. We didn't bring any of the transgender shit into the space. Y'all did. I'm like, don't put that on us. I'm like, y'all got to own that. Y'all women always running around trying to form all these coalitions, trying to form Voltron, thinking that shit's gonna help you. And then we got into this discussion about you know the gender war, civil rights movements. She actually brought up the same thing that the woman in my comment section, tried to bring up, which I've heard before, is the idea that black men, the black civil rights leaders, were not concerned about black people integrating into mainstream society. Their real concern was because they just wanted to date white women. Right. And I actually added to the comment that I originally wrote, because I was like, look, I was like, I can play the same game. Yes, a lot of the black civil rights leaders had non-black women on their arms. The optics of that looked terrible. But a lot of these guys were in the same category that we talk about today, educated lames. How many sisters were really going for them? We don't know. How many sisters were actually trying to, play the cooperative game and be their helpmate? We don't know. I wasn't around back then, obviously. But if you can go back and, there's plenty of videos online. I mean, going back all the way into the 60s, black and white films of them talking about, the gender war dynamic. So we got to talking, and, I was explaining things from the male perspective, the shit that we have to put up with. I'm not going to get into all of that in this video, because this video is primarily about a link that she wanted me to watch, and I watched it. It's about half an hour long, because I used the term Kimberle Crenshaw, and she asked me, she was like, do you know where that term comes from? I thought the term came from bell hooks. I was like, I'm familiar with bell hooks, Alice Walker, Margot Jefferson. Kimberle Crenshaw, I've heard the name before, but I never actually sat down and studied her or looked her up. I think she's a professor at UCLA. So she sends me a link and she's like, watch this. And so I just finished watching it. But anyway, the conversation that we had, she thanked me for the conversation, because she was like, you've given me a lot to think about. And, basically, and I don't know whether to take it as condescending or not, but it's like a lot of black men either come up with hotep babble, or they don't articulate the conversation the way that I articulated, because I gave, examples. I gave examples of how is this supposed to work? Because we got into this conversation about equality, intersectionality, and she explained it to me, and then she wanted me to watch the Kimberle Crenshaw video. So this is going to lead to a second conversation with her, once I, meet up with her again. But I'm doing this video because I'm going to share with you my feedback, or the feedback that I'm giving based on the video the link that she sent me, which is of a Kimberle Crenshaw. I guess it's like a TED Talk or something. What's this damn thing called? It's Kimberle Crenshaw, Intersectionality and Gender Equality. This is from 8 years ago, and it only has 390,000 views. So apparently, this didn't go around. But if you just type in Kimberle Crenshaw, her video, her little snippets and shit like that, she pops up all over the place. I didn't know what she looked like. I had no concept of who she was. It's not a familiar face to me. And when I hear these names, I kind of think, my mind goes to bell hooks and Margot Jefferson, and primarily Margot Jefferson, because Margot Jefferson has that. To me, it's a very important clip, which is the clip. It's a where she's doing this interview. Shows her probably about 1970. She's walking around the neighborhood, going to an open grocery store or whatever. And then the video cuts, and then she's talking to this white woman, and she talks about how, basically black women got all of the liabilities of being a black woman and none of the benefits, and how, black men were trying to reclaim their masculinity. And what else did she say in there? Um, she talked about like some of the misogyny with like the Black Panthers and being called a bitch or something like that. And what else did she say in it? There was something else that was important to this gender discussion that was in her conversation. Hold on, it'll come to me. Um, I forget exactly the phraseology that she used, but basically she was saying that black women have two things against them. They're black and they're women. So she said something to the effect of like they're not a useful male, and they're not as useful as a man is like in the workforce, but then at the same time they don't get to reap the benefits of white womanhood, right? And that's always like that to me was a very important conversation, or what Margot Jefferson said. It was very important because it kind of rolls into what I said when I first came across some of Karazin's content when it came to the idea of black women being seen as beautiful, and the issue that they have with the European beauty standard where black women stand as the antithesis of the white woman's beauty standard, and therefore they're in terms of beauty they're useless. And this is one of the things that Margot Jefferson was pointing out. And when it came to Karazin, I was like, are you looking for validation from black men? Like, in other words, if the argument is black men are colorist and self-hating and they've adopted the white European beauty standard that a woman needs to basically be a white woman in order for her to, reap all the benefits of white womanhood, then that's a conversation to be had, with black men. That's an internal conversation to have with black men. But if black women are looking for global validation, right, which means the idea that other races of men are supposed to find black women equally as attractive as white women because they see white women on the pedestal and black women want that spot, that's not something that black men, have anything to do with. And there seems to be this resentment, this jealousy with black women. And I'll give you a primary example. It's like the Kim Kardashian situation. You know why a lot of black women are mad about Kim Kardashian? It's not just because, black men were fucking Kim Kardashian. You got Ray J, you got Reggie Bush, you got, Kanye West, right? So you got these successful black men fucking around with Kim Kardashian. That's like the first insult to injury. The second insult is the fact that white society and white men basically have like, they got that whole Madonna whore complex. So they say that, only a white woman like Grace Kelly is the epitome of the essence of a white woman, right? Sophia Loren, right? She's the whore in the Madonna whore complex. Grace Kelly, and I'm saying go look at the two pictures of, just Google Grace Kelly and then Google Sophia Loren. Sophia Loren she's the dusky white woman. She's the sultry white woman. She's the one with the seductive eyes and whatnot. And you get into this whole, and you can go and pull up videos about the Madonna whore complex. It's a real thing, where men, they designate one woman as wifey material and that's the woman that they want to marry. But when it comes to them, engaging in their lustful, hedonistic desires, they have a different woman for that. And there's certain men that they want to separate the two. If you ask me, and I've said this before, black men have a horrible Madonna whore complex, and I don't agree with it, because when we're talking about beauty and we're talking about putting black women in the same light, as white women, which in a strange way they do and they don't want to be in that light. It's very weird. And this is the whole thing that I'm going to get into, where every black woman is not the same. And the problem with Kimberle Crenshaw'S whole position and her statement, and again, this is from 8 years ago, so her position might have changed. The problem is and the woman I was having a conversation agreed with this, Every black woman is not the same. Okay? So, anyway, getting ahead of myself. But getting back to the whole Kim Kardashian thing, the issue is that white men can take a woman like Kim Kardashian who has a sex tape and then elevate her and promote her in a way that suddenly the fact that she's busting it wide open on camera, which should disqualify her from the elevation that she has enjoyed. It should disqualify her even based on white men's own standards. But what ends up happening is what it looks like is white men can break their own rules, take any white woman and then elevate her, and that's something that black men can't do. So black women have a problem with black men, not just because of whatever ways we're affected by the European beauty standard and how we participate in it and engage in it and elevate white women, when we're not supposed to. But the ability of white men to be able to take a white whore or a white woman who has put herself out there, sullied herself, and then elevate her and transcend her. They can take doo-doo and turn it into gold. And black men have an inability to do that. And so there's a resentment of black men because the idea is that black men are powerless and cannot elevate. Like, we can't take Lawrence Fishburne's daughter who did pornography, give her, L'Oreal deals and makeup deals and cosmetic deals and make her, the black version of a Kardashian. Like, we can't take a black woman who went and had sex with white men, wealthy white men, and then came back to the black community, and then we go and then we elevate her and put her on a pedestal. Why black men would do that, I have no clue. Like, I don't like the idea of when white men do hypocritical things, pathological things, and then black men are charged with the idea that we should be doing the same thing. Like, I'm like, well, what if we don't have the same principles as them? What if we don't believe in the same thing that they believe, right? Because I'm saying when it comes to black women have their own orientation and their own beliefs and whatnot. Like, black women are not white women. They're not the exact same thing. It's not like one size fits all, right? So black women have their cultural beliefs. White women have their cultural beliefs. Right. But it would be weird to sit there and look at black women and then say, why don't you operate exactly like white women in every shape, fashion, or form, when there's different cultural beliefs. Right. So, again, would black men or should black men promote a woman with a sex tape, right? From a spiritual standpoint, from a whatever our own value judgment in, most black men would say no. But again, that's only part of it. I mean, that's part of black men's rebuttal. However, there's still the aspect of, it's not a matter of the fact that you all won't because you have your own principles. It's a matter of the fact that you can't. You can't take a black woman who's had a sex tape and then put her on a pedestal and then have the entire, world recognize it. And see, and this is where the thing, and then the argument is black men are powerless relative to white men because white men can just go out here and they can break their own rules, and black men can't break any rules, let alone the white man's rules, even though based in principle, that shouldn't even be something that we should be trying to elevate, right? So, and it's a very weird thing because basically white men have the ability to elevate whatever they want and have the whole world look at it with wonder, okay? And so that has a great deal to do with why a lot of black women have, like, consciously and subconsciously, some of these issues when it comes to us in terms of what we can't do for them in terms of validation and promotion. So Now that I said all of that, I'm on a run right now. Listening to this Crenshaw speech, who, again, I was familiar with her name because black feminists, women like for Harriet likes to throw her around and whatnot. I listened to the speech, and what I heard was this. Okay, from my toxic masculinity, heteronormative, cisgendered perspective. Okay, what I heard was, like, one of the things that she brought up, just like Margot Jefferson, is that black women were getting hit with double disqualifiers, which is they're black and they're female. And so in the 1970s, during, women wanting to, enter the workforce and be strong and independent, they couldn't do that because they were getting hit with a double whammy. And then there was like the reverse Uno card, where, and this is one of the things that black men have complained about, which is that since black women had a double Uno reverse card because they were not only women and they were also black, that they basically killed two birds with one stone, where black men only had one, issue, that they were black, and white women only had one issue and they were female, and black women had two issues because they were black and female, right? And so, she was going through the whole, and black women and negatively affected, and we need to change this, and we need to examine this, and yada, yada, yada. And one of the things that she didn't touch on, and I'm going to say this to the woman that that I'm having this conversation with, I'm going to say this to her as well. And this is a big issue because, again, every black woman does not want the same thing. And this is the problem with, like, the whole, because she brought up the whole thing about, black men are trying to reclaim their masculinity, and, white men have denied them, patriarchy and the ability to provide for the family, so on and so forth. And so, they're trying to fight for patriarchy to be patriarchs. And black women are trying to not only fight against the patriarchy, but also fight against racism, white supremacy. And then, again, you get all the intersectionality where they bring in the LGBTQ. But this was 8 years ago, so she didn't talk about the LGBTQ and all that other shit. But she has talked about it in other discussions, right? Because the whole idea is to dismantle the entire structure of hierarchies and structures. And right, so now I'm getting into the T Noir, the For Harriet, the freaking nappy-headed Hoba, right? This is what all of them are on. Okay, get rid of, eliminate all structures, all that. Here's where the problem is in particular for black men. Because what ends up happening is you have this group of black feminists that take the Kimberle Crenshaw, again, from 8 years ago, route. Smash the patriarchy. We want to eliminate the patriarchy. Okay, black men, you all are trying to operate and function like white men, and we don't want that, yada, 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 right? And so what ends up happening is black men get held to, while they're trying to dismantle patriarchy, black men get held to the standards of patriarchy that the women would have otherwise eliminated. So, example, like listening to Kimberle Crenshaw, and she was talking about black girls getting suspended from schools, and the rate at which they're getting suspended from schools and everything. And I'm going to tell you what I found very interesting, because she talked about this, like, it's the opposite of what Dr. T. Hassan Johnson talks about when he talks about flat blackness. And you kind of see this with the Democrat Party, where, black issues are now, it's the black woman, right? You see how black men are discarded by the Democrats, we're talked down to, right? And so, like, it's weird because, like, yeah, in the textbook, on paper, I can see what Kimberle Crenshaw is talking about. Yep, you're a woman and you're black. You got a double disqualifier right there. But in reality, that's not how it plays out. And there's an aspect of this where white supremacy plays black women against black men. And so when hold on, let me gather my thoughts. I feel like Kimberle Crenshaw misses that a little bit. Because it's like like listening to her whole speech, you think that black women were down bad, right? That's what you would think. Black women are down bad. Now, granted, this is from 8 years ago, but I'm saying the way she was speaking, you would think black women are down bad. But then on the flip side, I'm saying even before 8 years ago, all we heard was black women are killing it in the game. Black men are not on their level. Black women are out here, three times as likely to get degrees over black men. Black women are getting their masters. Black women are doing all this and all. So it's like they're victims at the same time they're kicking ass, right? This is what was not said in her speech. I'm like, oh, so now all the black girls are doing down bad, and now we got to talk about the black girls are down bad. You know what I mean? And when it comes to black boys and they get suspended, right? It's like they end up going down the school to prison pipeline. But the girls, and I'm saying I can't be mad at her, because the reality is there's a lot of black women that aren't doing that well. I mean, that was that whole report with the 2015 and 2019 CDC report. That whole report is covering essentially black people in poverty, both men and women, because that's where all the kids out of wedlock are essentially coming from. All those black girls that are the 42% of the 13.4 million black women that are having babies under the age of 20. Those women, the vast majority of those women are growing up in poverty. And so she has a valid point about the black women that are growing up and struggling in poverty. But it's so funny how that never comes up when we're having these gender war conversations. Because when we're having the gender war conversations and we get to the dating conversations, black women are doing 1,000 times better than black men and leaving black men in the dust. And it's like, okay, so why do black women need help then? Why aren't we focusing on the men that are not on your level, and you're saying you have nothing to pick from or you have nothing to date, right? We don't have that it's weird, the flip-flopping that goes on. It depends on it depends on which way the wind is blowing. It's like, oh, we're having this conversation. Okay, black women are down bad. Then we're having another conversation. Black women are doing leaps and bounds and pole vaulting over black men, and black men they're just so sad and they're just so beneath us. And what can we do? And why can't our men be better? And then it's again, we get back to you're trying to dismantle patriarchy. Okay, you don't like it. It's Eurocentric. It's a part of the white power structure. It's we're imitating that, and it's a flawed and it's a problematic and all this other stuff. But then at the same time, you lament about the fact that you're not getting the benefits of patriarchy. I'll tell you where she fucked up in her whole speech, and it was towards the end, where Kimberle Crenshaw brought up, the thing about the girls getting suspended and the woman that were, they were getting arrested, and the woman, she died in jail and all this other stuff. White society, white patriarchy is never going to value black women the way that she feels that black women should be valued. They're not going to do that, and it's not their job to do that. Okay? Their job as white patriarchy is to value the white woman. And so what ends up happening, so black women, they think that they're defeating or fighting the overall, the entire system, including white patriarchy. And they think they're making all these arguments about dismantling all of that. When in truth, all they do is weaken their men to the point I shouldn't say weaken their men, because black men being weakened is a byproduct of the system of white supremacy, not black women per se. But there seems to be this resentment anytime you talk about getting black men there so that black men are in the position to do for black women like the system of white supremacy and white patriarchy does for the white woman. So this is where black men get charged with the responsibility of being able to provide or do for black women like white patriarchy does for the white woman, while the black woman actively works against there being a black patriarchy. And that's where I'm like, Kimberly Crenshaw and all these black, I'm like, you're on your own. You can't, like, in other words, and this is what I'm saying about like, every black woman is not the same. Yes, there are black women who want to be CEOs, corporate executives. They want to go out there and they want to make their own money and all that other shit. And many of those women end up they're just so confused because many of them want to engage in the fruits of patriarchy once they achieve their level of success. And I do believe that a lot of black women trying to achieve their level of success is tied to the inferiority complex that they have about being a black woman. Because I can't say this for certain, but I do feel that there's a lot of black women that go out here and they chase these degrees, not because they particularly even care about the field that they're in, but they want the prestige that comes with the degree. They want the prestige because this society and this world has said that black women are valueless. And this goes back to Margot Jefferson. Black women are valued less. And in this society, how do black women, gain value? Since they can't gain it in beauty because of the white beauty standard that, is blocking them off from participating in that, they can gain it through financial independence. They can gain it through the status of a career, right? Removing the stench of poverty off of them. You know what I mean? And there's a degree, that this applies as well to black men. The only difference is black men are trying to get to that position so that they can provide for their families, so that they can take care of women and children. Women are not fighting for that position so that they can take care of men and children. So you end up with this situation where, again, the women, it's like they acquire money so that they can, again, be independent of the patriarchy, but yet they don't want to, what am I saying? They don't want to, they ain't trying to take care of no man. Like, they're not. So it's like, how do we navigate that? But like I said, if black women, but just based off of this Kimberly Crenshaw, speech, if what you all are looking for is for white society or the society overall to value you all have fucked up. You all have majorly fucked up. I mean, seriously, you're really on your own, in this regard, because it would be one thing to sit there and say, what we want is a patriarchal black community where black women are protected and provided for, just like all the other races of women are. But you all are actively working against your men for that to be a reality. You actively work against your men in theory. You work against your men, institutionally in academia, and you damn sure work against your men when it comes to the way that you raise your boys and the belief systems that you try to instill in boys. You're trying to extract patriarchal benefits without actually having a patriarchy so that you can run off and be strong and independent and do whatever the fuck you want to do. And it doesn't work that way. And then you end up with this situation where you all are whining and crying and bitching and lamenting over the fact that you're not getting Kim Kardashian treatment, that you're not getting, pedestalization treatment. You're not getting value treatment. It is not the white man's job to value you. It's not. Yes, the white man controls the overarching society, but the only way that you would even remotely challenge that is to have a strong patriarchal black community, which you all don't even fucking believe in. You know what I'm saying? The Asian man cannot get white men to value, Asian women. It's only a handful of Asian white men that are into Asian women, contrary to popular belief. If you actually look at the numbers, most white men marry white women. Most white people stick to white people. It's only in your major metropolitan areas that you're going to see white men interracially dating. But for the most part, they stick to their own. and white and Asian men, they have built an infrastructure. They have done everything for Asian women, and you still got Asian women up there disrespecting Asian men because Asian women want to be pedestalized the same way that white women are by white men. And so and somebody else, they've written this comment. They've written that and this has been proven with the dating sites and all that other shit. How all these non-black women pedestalize white men. I get it. They're the ones with the thermonuclear weapons. They're the ones with the aircraft carriers and the military. I get it. But I'm saying at least the Asian woman has a Chinatown and a Koreatown, and she has spaces that she can retreat to when she gets disrespected by white society. But the black woman, she's been spending all of her time trying to tell the black man, that everything he's doing is, misogynistic and Eurocentric and I'm like, it blows my mind, this idea where black women, they don't want black men to be in any sort of patriarchal position, but then they want black men to be in a position to build a structure, to elevate them, to promote them. And I'm like, that requires resources and it requires men to be ahead of you. But y'all don't like that because you don't like the power dynamic that comes with that, because you don't like patriarchy and you see patriarchy as an oppressive system. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say, okay, white women relative to white men, white women are oppressed and white women are the downtrodden. Are they really? Because you all constantly whine about not being in the white woman's position. It's like the joke that Bill Burr made, and his wife is black. And she got to talking about a freaking or actually, was he talking about white women or was he talking about his wife? I forget. I think he was talking about his wife. But he was like, like if you're with him, you know what I mean? Like, okay, your life is slightly less than mine. Like, and I'm saying, and I'm the one sharing everything that I have with you. You know what I mean? Like the idea that somehow, like, to sit there and say patriarchy is to say that patriarchy is an oppressive system is to say that white women are truly oppressed. Are white women truly oppressed? When you want to be in a white woman's position, when you're running around as black women, or at least the percentage that are saying this, saying sprinkle, sprinkle. Okay, like again, sprinkle, like the whole concept of that, all of that life of leisure, life of luxury requires patriarchy. It requires the men to be ahead of you. So how can you say sprinkle, sprinkle in a system of oppression? You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is the whole thing. If you're Kimberle Crenshaw and you want to be, you want to max out your career and all that other stuff, to the women that specifically want to do that, I'd say Kimberle Crenshaw is 100% right in whatever barriers from the patriarchy that she wants to say are there. I'm not here to get into the details of it. There's sexism that exists in the workplace, yada, yada. I'm not here to get into that. But to the women that want to live the sprinkle life, the women who want to be stay-at-home moms, the women who want to be pampered, want to be a kept woman, want to be the arm candy on a successful black man's arm, they're not looking at patriarchy like, oh my God, it's so oppressive. They are looking for men to be in the dominant position. And then you got the chameleons, and the chameleons are the worst demographic of black women, which are the women who want to just have it all. I'm going to be a CEO, executive, boss bae, and I want a man that's making more money than me, but he doesn't have any patriarchal power, and he, bends thy knee every day he walks in the door to me, the queen. Like, delusional bitches, just complete delusional bitches. And I just want to dismiss them and remove them out of the room, because like what they're asking for is outrageous. Okay? A woman who doesn't want patriarchy, a woman who wants to do her own thing, I don't have shit to say. I don't have any objections. I won't be fucking with her because I'm not interested in what she wants. I'm not interested in joining her program or getting with her or operating in role reversal. I'm not interested. Okay? But I can listen to her, hey, chick, I'm not trying to twist your arm or make you get with the patriarchy. But when it comes to, a woman that wants to be a stay-at-home wife and everything, and if she's saying that I can't find dudes that are on such and such a level, I can listen to that complaint. That's because in other words, her problem is what? Finding a dude that's in that position. She doesn't have an objection to playing her part if she were to find a dude in that position. You see, these are two different conversations. Again, going back to what I said, having the gun control conversation about, inner city violence and gang violence is not the same conversation as, white boys shooting up schools and theaters. Those are yes, they both involve guns, but those are two different conversations. You know what I mean? But the problem is the feminist women have literally taken over the conversation. Because there's really not enough black women who speak out on this. And I do think it creates a lot of confusion with black men because, it does look like black women are talking out of both sides of their mouth. I want to be a boss, bitch. Because I'll give you a perfect example. That chick that was on We Need to Talk episode, what was it? I think 50. It was like episode, I want to say 57, and I think episode 23, if I'm not mistaken. The chick that was up there talking about he's going to have his house and I'm going to have my house. Like, how the fuck is that going to work? You know what I mean? Like, she wanted a successful man, but she wanted her own autonomy at the same time. And again, it completely ignores what men actually want. It ignores what they want. Like men, like we're just here. We just sit on a shelf like Toy Story and wait for a black woman to pluck us off the shelf. It's like they don't even consider. And then the women get so frazzled when men say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for." Like, this is what I'm looking for. Especially when, with the women who want men to basically pay for everything, I'm like, he better get what he wants. He ain't gonna pay for what you can't make him pay for what he doesn't want. And that's how, everything has been framed. And I'm glad Dr. T. Hassan Johnson pointed this out, in his recent video, We Need to Talk. It's always been framed in this idea of black men servicing black women. And that's why a lot of this shit has really fallen apart. Why you have black men at this point that are just flat out resentful of black women and don't want anything to do with them. Because what black women are what they're trying to do is the same thing as it's like with people quiet quitting. Okay, you want to take away the prestige, you want to take away the pay, you want to take away the ability to even, like, what you're paying allows me to support a family or buy a house. Like, once you take away all that, like, what is the point? What is the point of being in the workforce? Oh, why aren't young men in the workforce? Because you took all the incentives out of it. That's why. And the same thing applies to men wanting to get married. The same thing applies to, men, black men dealing with this culture of American black women. I'm like, you've removed all the incentives. And unfortunately, the feminists, like, seriously speaking, like, where are the TED Talks of the traditional black women? You won't see it. They don't get platformed. A black woman is like, I am looking to be a stay-at-home wife and I want to have kids, or I want to have a job or a career, but like I'm here to basically like supplement my husband's income. I'm not trying to compete with him. Those women are never platformed. You can't even go on the internet right now and find a woman that is looking for that shit without some sort of conniving, Shira 7 sprinkle bullshit going on. Sprinkle is not the same thing as I'm, a truly traditional woman. I'm trying to play the traditional role. It's not the same thing. But listening to Kimberly and I'm glad I listened. I'm glad I listened to the video in its entirety, because it was only about half an hour long. But after listening to the video, I'm like, no, 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 no. I see what the problem is. I see what the problem is. You want white patriarchal society to value black women, at some sort of collective level in the process of dismantling patriarchy. And this goes back to what Cap said on the Don Nicoleone show with the Cap Food, series that, isn't up right now. I got it on private. But no, it goes right into that. Like, where he was telling that woman, he was like, if you think that other groups are going to get rid of patriarchy, if you think other women are going to get rid of patriarchy when they benefit from patriarchy, you got another thought coming. Now, what a lot of black women try to do, like your Karas and stuff, they try to make the argument that that what black men operate in is black patriarchy, and black patriarchy doesn't have any benefits, like other communities do. And it's their slick way of trying to paint any patriarchy associated with black men as somehow pathological. And that's not the case. The case is these women don't want patriarchy. They have a problem with patriarchy. And it's like once they destroy or dismantle black patriarchy, then they make the argument that well, if I have to deal with patriarchy, I'm going to deal with white patriarchy. See, that's not a woman that wants patriarchy. I mean, the sentence in and of itself, if I have to deal with patriarchy, I will deal with white patriarchy. Bitch, you don't like patriarchy. If I have to deal with it. If I have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like again, that's like me saying, if I have to deal with a black woman, I will deal with a black woman from Africa. Well, I don't like African American women then. You see what I'm saying? Like when you make a statement, if I have to feel, I will be over here. You don't like patriarchy. You see what I'm saying? You see, you got to listen to what the women are saying, because when what they're saying tells you what they're really about. The attitude that's conveyed, the tone that they're throwing out there. I'm like, yeah, I know what you want. But see, what they try to do is they try to paint it in a way that slams the black men and makes them look like the victim, even though this is the direction that they've wanted to march. It's the dumbest thing in the world to think that white society or white women are going to just willingly lay down and give up patriarchy. No. There's too many benefits to it. And I would argue and I contend that the issue in the black community is, no, you don't have a patriarchy. There's no benefits, not because black men are operating in pathological patriarchy. There's no benefits because from a cultural standpoint, you have helped to dismantle it. You've helped dismantle it. The way you raise your boys, the shit you teach, the reward systems that you don't want in place because you don't want there to be a hierarchy. Oh, black women are in full support of teaching black boys responsibility. But what they don't want is for black boys to have the concept that there is any sort of exchange, that this is being done in exchange for something, some sort of reciprocity between them and black women. Because that creates hierarchies, right? We're just supposed to build, and then black women are just supposed to be able to use it. It's not a build and then black women have to cooperate with the structures that black men build. This is why they don't want to give recognition. This is why they don't want to give praise. This is why they don't want to acknowledge when a black man has achieved a certain level. This is why you hear shit like, well, just because you did it, that don't mean that's why you hear that shit. Just because you did it, that don't mean this, that don't mean. They always try to diminish black men's achievements. And this is one of the reasons why you end up with black men going over the fence and getting with other racist women, because the reward system still exists in all these other patriarchal communities. If a black man is financially successful, he will be recognized in all other communities. Even if they don't even like black people, they'll be like, but he rich. So we're going to let that shit slide. He's bringing resources into the community, and the women, they'll recognize that shit. They recognize men that are contributing to this structure, the infrastructure, shit that they do, that contributes to the overall maintenance of their society. In the black community, there is none of that. There is none of that. And some of it is warranted. Like example, if black men, this is the problem with black men not being seen actively building and maintaining their community, because when black men participate in the infrastructure, usually we're contributing to the dominant society infrastructure. We're not contributing to our own community and neighborhoods. That's a legitimate point. But the problem still is that there is no reward system. There's no reward system. And it's the same thing that I said about these sort of relationships between black men and Latino women. Latino men are very machismo, all that shit. And, they're like, the woman's place is in the kitchen. They, as I said in a previous video that I haven't uploaded yet, they won't touch a dish. They won't touch a dish. You know what I mean? Like you, if you're a black man and you're dating a Latino woman and her family members around and she cooks the food and you get up and take your plate to the sink, if they even hear dishes clashing, they will tackle you like a Secret Service agent. You know what I mean? And the men will look at you like, fuck is you doing? We don't do that. And again, the reason why a lot of these unions between black men and Latino women in many regards end up being inseparable is because there's mutual appreciation. I've said this before. Black women raise their sons to be with other races of women because in black women's process to try to make things easier for black women by teaching black boys how to, you got to clean up after yourself and you got to iron your own clothes and know how to, because ain't no woman going to be picking up after you. When he gets to the other races of women that have been, primed for those domestic things, and then here you got the black man helping her out around the household, they appreciate that shit. And then on the flip side, when those Latino women and some of these other women, when they're, cooking up meals for the guy, he don't even have to ask. I'm telling you, a lot of us black men are blown away because we don't get treated like that by our own. We don't. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes talk about the women cooking and all this other shit because black women don't do it. They think it's slavery. Like I remember that clip of even the white guy was just like, oh my God, like she made making a sandwich for a dude sound like it was slavery. Like the shock even on his face as a white dude, he was like, yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's a gesture. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I appreciate you. Nah, you don't get that from sisters because sisters don't want to acknowledge anything that a man does because it creates a hierarchy. It creates like a IOU, so to speak, and they don't want that. Just because you did, that don't mean I gotta follow you. That don't mean I got this. How long do you think a dude is gonna deal with that before he just decides to walk? And again, maybe black women would get away with it if it was a closed ecosystem. And I think in the 1960s and 50s and stuff like that, for the most part, it was a closed ecosystem. Black men couldn't just go out there and interracially date. It was a closed ecosystem. It was racism. It was 1950, 60, Jim Crow, all that shit. No, you couldn't do no shit like that. But now, and you got social media and you got the internet and you got dating apps and everything else. I'm looking at black women like, you're fucked. You're fucked. Because you all really you operate like it's a closed ecosystem. And then not only that, the message, the reinforcement that there is a reward system over there. So it's like this, like think about you a young black man. You got on your feet, you established everything else. You go out there, you deal with black women. I'm not impressed. You go out there, you deal with the white girl, you deal with the Hispanic girl, you deal with some other chick, and you got plenty of women. They're attracted to black men, but they're looking for black men with resources because they're not trying to, go down in whatever their standard of living is because of the racial economic disparities between the two groups. So if they find a black man and they're attracted to him and he's got money, bitch, please, you can't compete with that. She gonna be on her bitch act right. It's not even funny. You've lost the dude. You've lost the dude because what is the incentive? What is the incentive of staying in the black community? What, your blackness? The black community? What black community? Right? It's in shambles, right? Single mothers, 61% of black women are mothers, right? Only 46% of black men are fathers, right? A childless dude, again, I just was talking about this a minute ago in the previous video. The freaking the very last balloon show that was a day ago. The brother went up there, had his own company, had 4 degrees, was getting his doctorate in nurse practitioning and shit like that. And two of the women popped the balloons immediately. They just didn't like him. Then he was up there and talking to the women, and then all he said was, they asked her, what are some deal breakers? He was like smoking. He said something else, and then he was like kids. And I think 3 or 4 of the women popped their balloons. And I'm like, these women he was 32. And the women on there, like one of the women, I think she was either mixed or Latina or something like that. She was 31 with a 12-year-old. You do the math. And other than the woman, she had 2 kids. I already know it. I already know it from that CDC report. Black women got kids all over the fucking place. So y'all, again, we've been, black men, they go over the fence because of self-hate and colorism. How about the fact that a lot of y'all got kids already? And the childless men that were on their mission and got their shit together, that's not what they're looking for. They didn't go to college and go through all that delayed gratification to go out here and deal with a baby mama. You can't compete with childless women of any race. It's nonsensical. And the women, they got all type of delusion, but I don't want to get into all that. It's unfortunate, but I'm like, chick, you already had your ride on the merry-go-round. You already did the thing. You know what I mean? what does this man owe you? And then the entitlement to, this sort of idea that a childless black man owes black women because the black community is broken and it's not patriarchal, when black women don't even want a patriarchy. They helped, dismantle, disrupt, undermine there even being a black patriarchy. They're disgusted by a black patriarchy, but yet they want the benefits of a black man who's in the patriarchal position, where the reality is he's only going to get his patriarchal reward if he goes over the fence and deals and interacts with other races of women that are appreciative of the fact that he's playing the patriarchal role. And again, the vast majority, yes, I'm not saying other communities don't have problems and they got all type of weird, goofy gender issues, but the difference is that the resources are there for them to get a whole bunch of women on some bitch act right. The resources are there, where the men of those other races can challenge the shit. So when it comes to a young black man and he's got his shit together, what is he going to do? One-man army the entire black community? And even the other black men that are out here, talking hotep babble, talking that 50-50 shit because, they can't meet the standard. You know what I mean? And again, many of the women, their mothers, have encouraged the idea. This goes back to what Catherine Eden said. Go pull up the video of Catherine Eden. Just type in Catherine Eden. She did a seminar it's 10, 11 years ago. That one. Click on that one and watch that one. And she talks about that. The idea of, again, the young man thinking that, thinking that, he had intrinsic value. That's what you get in a matriarchy. You get men who think that they have intrinsic value because women think they have intrinsic value. And a boy raised in an environment with nothing but women is going to think he has intrinsic value. And like she said in the documentary, you know, working at McDonald's part-time makes you a good boyfriend, but it makes you a terrible father. And a lot of guys, they get hit over the head, you know, when the baby comes and they're like, but wait a minute, I mean, everything was cool right before. Yeah, but now you're a dad. Now they're looking at you like, where are your resources to contribute to the matriarchy? The measly, you know, $20,000 that you were making working at part-time at McDonald's, that ain't gonna cut it. And this is where you get the, you know, the men, you know, that are stuck in that situation. They end up cheating. They end up stepping out. You know, you have other dynamics where after the baby is born, the focus goes to the baby, and basically he gets ignored. You know, there's a lot at play, and she covered it. If you know, I advise you to get her book. She's a professor. I think she was at Princeton for a while. You know, and she, you know, did her study in Philadelphia and followed a whole bunch of families around. And the matriarchy was real. And young men not knowing, and basically, like, that was one of the key things that she pointed out, where they didn't have the information. They didn't know. The shit that they were told was bullshit. There was no man for them to tell them. They came from like multi-generational matriarchal households. The shit that the women were saying was a whole bunch of fluffy Care Bear shit. That's why a lot of these guys are pissed the fuck off, because they're set up for failure. And then when they get out there into the real world, they start off with a reputation of failure, when it's like, damn, had I known that this is what this was going to mean, I wouldn't even have participated in this shit. But now they got a baby, and now it's like, oh, until he gets his shit together, he ain't shit. And then the crazy thing is that the women don't want him to get his shit together, because they fear that if he does, he'll institute patriarchy, which is not the way that multi-generational gyno-pedestal household, you know, function. You know, mom was not married, the grandmother was not married, and the great grandmother was not married, and the aunt is not married. You know, I got a brother right now that he said that you know, this guy that I work out with, he said that's exactly how his family is. He said his family is like that. He's got relatives that like basically one of his aunts, she's like the successful one. They live out in the burbs, and the husband was like, basically like, don't bring your family around here no more, because and I he didn't go into details, but I can kind of suspect, because they went over there like it's going, they brought the matriarchy with him or with them, and basically the woman was like, nah, my husband says that y'all can't come over here anymore, and she sided with her husband. It was a whole big thing, a whole big stink, because they used to all go over to, you know, the gyno-pedestal family is, they're all in poverty basically. You know what I mean? Like they're not well to do, but she's well to do and her husband's well to do, and they live in a nice house in the burbs and whatnot. And I guess something popped off, and I kind of had know what it was, you know, but it's, you know, the whole, you know, them being in the spot. Okay, you know, the one, you know, the one aunt or relative made it, and they're over there, and they feel like because they family and they're women, that, you know, it's their spot, and it's going, we bringing the matriarchy over here, and we live in the high sedity life. And he was like, he picked up on that vibe and was like, nah, don't bring your family over here no more. And when she told them that y'all can't come over anymore because I'm gonna stick with my husband, oh man, they threw a fit. And I wanted him to look. I'm like, oh, we gotta continue this conversation. I'm like, break that shit down, because this is in his own family. You know, and he even admits, he says that he recognizes that he has deficits. He had some cousins and some uncles that were kind of helping him out, but then like he was like, when they got married or they moved away, like he didn't really have anybody, but you know, he just was like out here seeking, and you know, he's made it, you know, to, you know, his 30s without having any kids. You know, and he's just like, you know, he sees the shit now. You know, but fortunately for him, he didn't make any mistakes, but he sees it. and we correspond and we talk about it. And he's like, I give him some things to think about. And, he goes back and he looks at his family with a new eye. But, yeah, I was cooking today. But yeah, I just, I'm glad I watched that interview because it made me realize quite a bit. I'm like, this goes right along the lines of the way that I felt when Kara's it just seemed like, I'm like, are you looking for black men to value black women? Like when we're talking about colorism, or are you looking at global validation? And then I think about how mad black women get about Kim Kardashian. And I'm like, yeah, you're mad that we can't take a black woman, that did some scandalous shit and then make her a billionaire. Yeah, I'm like, that's what you're mad about. And you're mad about the fact that, basically white women have like this diplomatic immunity where they can go out there, they can be whores, they can go out there and then bust it wide open, they can do all type of scandalous shit. And white men will still protect them and pedestalize them and give them opportunities and everything. Your black men can't. But the crazy thing is, but you want to smash patriarchy. White women are getting that from white patriarchy. You somehow want there to be some sort of transmutation, some sort of fucking alternative gender role dynamic between black women and have the exact same results as white men are giving white women. I'm here to tell you, y'all bitches are out of your fucking mind. You're out of your mind. And you're hemorrhaging. I'm trying to tell you this. When I was listening to that clip of Dr. T. Hassan Johnson talk about his son and how his son and his friends do not, deal with black women. And then I'm thinking about the black men that are in my immediate circle and how many of them have also married out. And these are well-to-do brothers that are making six figures. I'm like, you all are hemorrhaging quality black men. You have no idea how much you're hemorrhaging them. And the thing is I can't even tell black men like, hey, you need to stay in the community and deal with sisters and everything else like that. Because there is absolutely no reward system. There's no respect. There's no adoration. There's no reverence. You know what I'm saying? There's no cooperation. You know what I mean? Or even if y'all try to fake it, the chameleon shit. You know what I mean? Like, y'all don't really want it. Like, even if I can explain it to you and break it down to you and you're like, okay, I kind of understand what you're saying. Like, oh, damn. Really? I got to deal with the patriarchy to get what I want? Yes, bitch. You have to deal with the fucking patriarchy. Okay. Like, dudes don't want to deal with that either. We don't want to deal with some woman going, okay. Like, no. I want a happy chick in that passenger seat. I don't want some chick sighing and huffing and puffing. No. Like Nappy Jojoba said, it's a position of privilege. It's not a position of power. Oh, thank you. That's all I need to know. I will not be putting you in the passenger seat because I want somebody who actually wants to be there, is thankful to be there, is happy to be there, is elated to be there, right? You know what I mean? Looks at me like, oh, he's the man. You know what I mean? That's what I want. I want to feel that shit. You know what I mean? I want to feel that. It's like, it reminds me of like, it's a joke, but it was like, Cat was because Cap, he's his mother kind of fucked him up with the idea that everything men do is rape and pillage. And, he was talking to a woman one time and, he was talking about like outfits. Like Cap likes women in, he likes legs. He's a leg guy. And, he was talking about some woman in the abstract and he was like, yeah, like, it got this on and just does something for me, right? And he was telling me the story. He was telling the woman, and the woman basically was like, yeah, that right there. Like, because they had a conversation about why women like street dudes and everything else. And she was like, that right there. He was like, what? What right where? That right there. That intensity right there. She was like, I want to feel that. The way that he was talking about, some woman wearing an outfit or something like that. He was like, yeah, man, when they wear this, it just makes me want to and she was like, yeah, I want to feel that right there. And I got to say the same thing about women. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to, being an accomplished black man, you want to feel a woman that looks at you like he is my best option. You know what I mean? You want a woman to look at you and feel like she actually won something. Okay? That is the equivalent of what, this woman was saying about, why black women are in the street dudes, because, and a lot of it's tied to stress and anger and all this other shit. But Lord, do black women, they want to feel that. They want to feel your grunt, your anger, your power, your fury. They want to feel all that shit with every stroke, because quieters has kept their stressed out too. And that's how they get their stress out. But I'm saying, from the perspective of a man, we also want to feel the same thing when it comes to, a woman. And she's just, oh my God, girl, I was with this brother and he's just this and he's just that and just, oh yeah. And especially from the lane perspective, the educated lane perspective, because we're not promoted. Oh, please, extra want to feel that shit. Extra want to feel that shit. We're tired of sitting there and seeing women, Future does a video, that's TikTok, and y'all be screaming and shit. And we got to watch y'all, get all hot and bothered about street dude. No, we want to feel that. We want to feel that. And many brothers have already said this online. We feel that shit when it comes to other races of women. When you are a successful dude, we feel that shit with other races of women because, it's a part of their culture. It's a part of the structure. But when it comes to black women, you all, like, what's so crazy is you want the benefits of patriarchy, but you're so actively trying to dismantle it. And the thing is it's already non-existent in the black community. I don't even know what y'all are talking about. Y'all be talking about the oppressed, I'm like, who are you fighting? Are you fighting black men? Or are you fighting the system? Because there is no patriarchy in the black community. 61% of black women are mothers, and there's no fathers. In the picture, 81% of the firstborn black children are born out of wedlock. I'm like, man, please. You know what I mean? Please. There ain't no fucking patriarchy to speak of. Which is why you all don't reap the benefits that you do. You all are literally, and I'm going to say it for the millionth time, you all are literally trying to reap the benefits of white patriarchy without having a patriarchy of your own. And when it's not white patriarchal society's responsibility to do any of that for you. So undermining your own men, that had to be the dumbest thing that y'all have ever done. It's the dumbest thing. But, it is what it is. And honestly, at this point, I highly doubt that it can be corrected, because I don't see I still see delulu from black women. I don't see their behavior changing anytime soon. I do think that black couples will exist, but I think that, it's going to be, what it's been, majority kids out of wedlock, 25-30% of black people being married, prolonged period of time, because if you think about it, if you're already, if 30% of black people are married and then divorce rates are like 50%, like what are we really left with after like 10 years of marriage? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do the numbers really look like? So anyway, I'm done with this video. I was cooking today. I could feel it. I could feel it. My neurons, they were just firing. All over the place. Felt good. Anyway, that's my video, SWPL. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.